17 most controversial magazine covers. 17. Call me Caitlyn. That's the tagline that Vanity Fair used when they featured Caitlyn Jenner on the cover of their magazine in 2015. This exceptionally unexpected cover generated 432,000 single copy sales, and their online version saw 9 million unique visitors within 24 hours and 24 million unique visitors for that month. The photograph was taken by Annie Leibovitz, and part of Caitlyn's interview featured in the magazine read, "If I was lying on my deathbed and I had kept the secret and never did anything about it, I would be lying there saying, you just blew your entire life." 16. Rise to fame. During the late 60s, Muhammad Ali was having a bit of a rough time. He refused to be inducted in the US military as he was highly opposed to the war in Vietnam. Stripped of his heavyweight titles and banned from boxing, Ali was considered a draft dodger. George Louis was art director of Esquire, and he had the idea of depicting Ali along the same lines as Saint Sebastian, a Christian martyr murdered with arrows in the 3rd century. They almost hit a bit of a snag when Ali pointed out that it was against his religion, as he had converted to Islam. After consulting with his leaders and mentors, they agreed the shoot should definitely go ahead. 15. A little Photoshop. This cover of Time magazine, June 27, 1994, features O.J. Simpson. Nothing too remarkable about that at first glance. However, Time magazine was accused of altering his image, making him darker-skinned with a guiltier look on his face, with an underlying hint of malice. The magazine has denied those claims, but when you compare what was used for Newsweek, it makes you wonder about Time magazine's claims. 14. A slice of history. It's hard to imagine the events that unfolded after this image was taken. In fact, just hours after Annie Leibovitz captured this image of John Lennon and Yoko Ono, he was shot and killed outside his apartment building in New York City. That was December 8, 1980. Rolling Stone magazine hit newsstands on the 22nd of January, 1981, and this cover has received the title of Most Popular Magazine Cover by the American Society of Magazine Publishers for the past 40 years. Interesting to note, Annie's brief was not to have Yoko in the photo, but John insisted and claimed it was the perfect photograph once taken. 13. Good enough to eat. Hustler was pretty big in the 1970s, and they really pushed the limits of print pornography. Larry Flynt, the creator, was often involved in legal battles, all surrounding freedom of speech, pornography, and where the line should be drawn. In June 1978, this was printed in response to some of the backlash, and the cover read, "We will no longer hang women up like pieces of meat." 12. Break the internet. That's what Paper set out to do, and that's what Paper managed to achieve. It was featured on their winter edition in 2014, and obviously it didn't break the internet, but it definitely caused a massive stir in internet users worldwide. Reports vary on traffic, but according to Adweek.com, Paper had 6.6 million views on the day of publication, 5 million of them being unique users. 11. Age is but a number. Unless you're half naked on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine and you're barely 18. That was 1999 when Britney Spears, along with a Teletubby, appeared in a Lolita-style photoshoot for Rolling Stone. Parents were up in arms, but Britney's response was something along the lines of, "Have you seen MTV? All those in thongs." 10. Trendsetter. Although pretty common for us today, in 1991, this was considered a shock to many. August 1991 was the year that Demi Moore graced the cover of Vanity Fair, naked and very, very pregnant. Another cover shot by Annie Leibovitz, but this one didn't even make it into all stores. Some stores sent the magazine back or placed a cover over it. It was deemed shameful and offensive, yet nowadays this is the norm. This really helped launch Demi's career. 9. Cringeworthy. Looking back now, it's hard to believe that this was ever published. It was July 2008, and this image appeared on the cover of The New Yorker. Before Obama was made president, there was a lot of talk about him being a secret Muslim, and that he pretended to be Christian, and the rumors were further fueled because of his name and his Muslim relatives. On the cover, he appears with Michelle, who's dressed in camo with a machine gun and a burning American flag in the fireplace. 8. flying off the shelves. Perhaps it did, perhaps it didn't. But regardless, this was considered one of the more controversial covers that New York Magazine ever published. The question, is she just too old for this, was posed to readers, with a very pregnant 53-year-old woman on the cover. 7. Once Upon a Time. Did you know that in 1938, Adolf Hitler was named Man of the Year by Time magazine? As they had said when announcing their winner, Hitler was the man, for better or worse, that had the most influence on events that had taken place the previous year. 6. Catchy enough. I am pretty sure this got many people doing a double take. This was on the cover of Time magazine in 2012. The articles were focused on attachment parenting and how it was on the rise. It featured 4 separate families, including Jamie Lynn Grimmett on the cover, breastfeeding her 3-year-old son. 5. Perfect placement. Time magazine went to print with this image